A couple of months before I finally caught her with her affair partner, she turned cold to me. Whereas before, she loved to initiate you know what, and loving having it with me, suddenly we tapered off. Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, I'm going to go over a story titled, "My ex-wife contacted me out of the blue to tell me that the man she cheated with me on and left me for mistreats her. I told her I don't give an F, and now people are shaming me for it on social media." And guys, this story is all about a guy who, just like sadly many others before him and after, got married to the wrong woman. Got married too young, and as you're going to see here, eventually he caught on to the fact he was cheating on him. And this guy handles it very well in terms of obviously kicking her to the curb. And to no surprise, guess what? Even though she cheated on him, who do you think she made out to be the bad guy in the situation? Him. But then they divorce, they move on, people were hating on him, but then down the road, guess who comes crawling back? Guess who's reaching out to him because things aren't going very well with the guy that cheated on him with? And wait till you see how that whole thing goes with her, with him, the people around him. And I find it very entertaining in these stories, guys, how just the guy doesn't do anything. And yet he's made up to be the bad guy. But this guy, he handles the situation like a boss, and lots of good things can be learned from this. So it starts off, he says, I'm 31 years old, and my ex-wife, Claire, is 35. We were married 10 years ago, right when I turned 21 and graduated college. Smack. Got married at 21 years old, dude, come on. No guy should freaking get married until he's darn close to 30 years old, if he does it. Especially a guy that has any knowledge of how things work now. We were married for 5 years. During my whole marriage, I thought we were very happy. I certainly was. Anyway, I worked in the IT field and still do. We never got into any fights during our marriage, and our sex life was seen to be satisfying. After a couple months before I finally caught her with her affair partner, she turned cold to me. Whereas before, she had loved to initiate you know what and love having it with me. Suddenly, we tapered off. Every day turned into once a week, then for the last 2 weeks, before I outed her, not at all. Common theme in all these stories, guys. The couple's hooking up all the time, multiple times a week, maybe once a day. Starts becoming twice a week, then once every couple weeks, then once a month, then once every few months. You get my point. Something's up. I caught her because she had left her phone out and it was still open to a naked selfie that she had sent to a number I didn't know. Although I was crushed, I kept my head on and took photos of her phone with my phone. I saw her message stream with her boyfriend, some guy from the gym that I was paying her bill for. I didn't confront her. The text told me all I need to know. They had been screwing while I was at work in my bed. You want to talk about adding insult to injury. It's bad enough if they're cheating, maybe at his house or at a hotel or some damn thing, but at his house, in his bed, that is just, it's unbelievable. It takes it to a whole new level, in my opinion. I just kept quiet. Then following Saturday, when I knew she'd be at her supposed double yoga class, and that's why I'll be gone 3 hours, I loaded my stuff into my car and left. I talked to a divorce attorney and I would be fine. I was 25 years old and didn't have serious money. Her father had passed away and left her like $200,000, so she was rolling in dough. I had no claim on that money, nor should I have had one. We had no kids, although she had always claimed we would start having kids when she turned 30. That birthday came and went, but rather than starting to have kids, she decided to just spread her legs for someone else. Well, probably what's going on is that she's turning 30, and women hate that number 30, and she needed to feel like she was still wanted and attractive to guys. So one thing led to another with some dude at the gym he's mentioned here, and they're having an affair. And honestly, this guy stayed with her longer. She may have gotten pregnant. It could have been some other dude's kid. So perhaps this was a blessing in disguise. He discovered this. He goes on, he says, although I was the sole income earner, she was in possession of a vast amount of money, by my standards, and also had a college degree and was a school teacher for 2 years before we got married. Well, why the hell isn't she working now? Seriously, I mean, this guy can't make that much money that she can't work. And $200,000, that's nice, but it's not that much money. You can't have a job. The divorce papers were left on the kitchen table. She, of course, blew up my phone later with all kinds of apologies and begging and pleading, but I ignored her. A lot of her friends tried to call me and left nasty messages about how I was a coward and never loved her, otherwise how could I ghost her? She's the one that was having the affair. And not to mention the fact that hooking up in his own bed. And they're bombarding him with texts and messages like he's the bad guy here. Please explain that to me. Well, I don't really mean that. I get the whole idea. Because in their view, he was a typical nice guy. And in their mind, they figured they could just shame him into doing what they want. Because when women know a guy is the type of guy that doesn't take any shit, he's a guy who has a value, respects himself, or a bad boy type, they can't shame him in doing shit. So this obviously demonstrates their perception of him. But our man here is a changed man overnight after what happened. He said, I ignored them all. The only person I called was the guy's wife, who promptly dumped him. But I guess it worked out for my ex because she and her boyfriend got married just a few months after the divorce finalized. His wife got married again within months of this dude. Talk about stupid. Well, I don't know who's more stupid, she is or that guy. But know what? Now she is his problem. And this guy can start over. He's 25. And all this is awful, and I feel bad for him. He's got his whole freaking life ahead of him. The only time I ever saw her again was in front of the judge to end our divorce case where I had to pay 0 alimony, and it was a clean break. Awesome. No alimony. She never looked at me once, but kept her head down. She brought her boyfriend from the gym, and he was flexing, trying to look hard and tough like he was going to fight me. I just shook my head and thought he gets what he pays for. What was he doing? Just standing there like flexing his muscles, flexing his biceps, making his traps look all big to look tough and intimidating. It's like, dude, you're a fucking joke. And now she's your problem. Says, I've been on dates since then, haven't had a you-know-what a few times since then, but I've never been in a long-term relationship since. This was my own choice. In a lot of ways, I'm not over my relationship with her. I don't love her anymore, but I'm turned off to loving anyone now. Dude, no one can blame you, and there's no rush. Hell, I don't think I'd be dating for a while after something like that happened. I reconnected with some of my friends I had neglected during my marriage, since my wife disapproved of me being friends with anyone. So this guy was pee-whipped. Any guy that allows his wife to bully him and to stop hanging out with his buddies is pee-whipped. And the interesting thing is a lot of women will do this to their guys, and then they'll end up cheating on them and saying, you changed. And he's like, wait a second, you wanted me to stop hanging out with those guys. You wanted me to stop pursuing those hobbies and stuff like that. And she's complaining that he changed. Your relationship guys, if you were the girl that wants you to stop hanging out with your friends or is slowly trying to put a wedge between you, pay attention to that. That is not a good thing. Okay? Sometimes they do it to test you, but even then, something like that, not good. Best to walk away. You want your girl to encourage you to have friends and hobbies and interests. It makes you a more interesting guy, and it's good that both people have their own lives within reason, to make things work. You have some of your hobbies, she has some of hers within reason. That's a trick that usually works. Anyway, it says, Facebook used to be an app that I use, but pretty much anyone I care about I already see and converse with face-to-face or on phone, so I never use it anymore. Apparently, Claire had spun a narrative that I was mentally abusive, and that's why she had no choice but to leave me for her affair partner. So she's making out to be this guy's the villain here. Newsflash, she had like $200,000, okay? So she was okay. So if things were really bad, she could have divorced the guy. Believe me, in today's world, no court would have a problem with that if that actually was the case. And she'd have a nest egg there to take care of herself. But she didn't do that. So, but of course, probably her dumbass friends believed it. He says here, my parents didn't buy it, and my closest associates didn't buy it either. But she tried selling that crap to my boss to get me fired. That is low. I guess it's revenge against me ruining her boyfriend's marriage. Ironic that she messed up, she caped for his marriage when it was his new bachelorhood that helped make a relatively honest woman out of her. I just showed my boss the text where my ex begged for mercy and forgiveness and admitted she was having an affair and that I was a good husband, etc. He just told me he was sorry and gave me 2 weeks paid off to rest. How is it his... Let's just say for argument's sake he was cheating. For argument's sake. How is it his employer's business that he was doing that? Seriously. Fast forward 6 years, I'm still single and just working in my same field at the same company but making more money now. And I've done pretty well for myself. My own apartment, I've got savings, I got a 401k, a car, and I'm generally happy. I do what I want, and answer to no one. And that, my friends, is the bachelor life. I suppose I could put a down payment on a house, but I don't need one right now, and I'm happy where I'm at. But last week, my ex started texting me again. This is the same woman that said that she had to cheat because this guy was abusive and tried to get him fired, and she's reaching out to him. Talk about crazy, but listen to this. I never blocked her number. Well, that was dumb, since there was no need to. She hadn't been trying to contact me anymore since the flurry of old messages a long time ago, begging me not to divorce her and tell me the other guy, who she's married to now, didn't mean anything to her, blah, blah, blah. At first, her messages were just friendly. Hi, it's Claire. Long time no see. How are you? I know I effed up. Can I call you? No, bitch, you can't call me. You cheated on me. Affair. Made me out to be the bad guy. Tried to get me fired from my job. No, you can't call me. How are you? You kidding me? Then she tried to call me at least 10 times. I didn't pick up, and I didn't answer any of her texts either. Bro, block her. But you know darn well there was a part of him that was curious and probably was enjoying the fact that she was reaching out to him because it just made him feel better, like, ha, 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 I had the last laugh here. Another message he got was such and such. Is this your still number, right? I talked to a mutual acquaintance, and he says, this is still your number. Since you replied to him on it, please talk to me. She then told me how much she missed me, how I was the only man who was ever good to her. Then she started sharing information. She says, OP, the affair partner, her now new husband, is such a bastard. He hurts me. I don't know what to do. I made the biggest mistake of my life throwing you away. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. Isn't that amazing, guys? These stories you hear when the girl goes off with the lover, the Chatter Tyrone type, and years later they reach out to the husband or boyfriend they cheat on, the good guy, and saying, it's the biggest mistake of my life, and blah, 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 and I'll do anything to get you back, blah, blah, blah. I'll get on my hands and knees, blah, blah, blah. And it's amazing to me, the same old, there's this manual they all read for the same bullshit lines they have. I still ignored her. And she started naming off different ways that he had hurt her. I don't ever want to contact her again, so I texted our mutual acquaintance, a person who joined in on calling me a coward a few years ago, but with whom I still have contact with because I know his family, and told him what Claire told me, and asked him to get into contact with the proper authorities if what she is saying is true, because I don't give a mother effing shit about Claire anymore, and I don't care if she starved to death in the streets or died, but maybe her friends do care. Ooh, I don't blame this guy at all. I actually use those words. Looking back, it's obvious I do care. If I bothered to try to send such a hateful message through an intermediary, but I didn't want to get involved otherwise. I also think Claire is trying to manipulate the former nice guy I used to be. The old me would have rushed to her rescue and be a shoulder to cry on. That's why she's reaching out to this guy, because her perception of him is that he's the same guy as he always was. The guy that she got to break away from all his friends. Right here he said the guy would rush to her and be the shoulder to cry on. That type. And out of desperation, she's just hoping that she can get him to break. And remember I told you how remember I said earlier in the story, her friends are shaming him earlier when he took off and left the divorce papers on the table because their perception of it, he was the weak, nice guy type. Well, they were wrong. This guy changed. He says, not anymore. The acquaintance told me I was an evil person and a monster and blah, blah, blah. I told him to go F himself and blocked him. Good. You should have told this mutual acquaintance that a long time ago when he originally didn't believe you when the whole thing was going down. She was tarnishing your name. For the first time ever, I logged into Facebook. As expected, no one that I used to think of as a friend had ever tried to message me to comfort me or help me back when I first got cheated on and divorced. Yeah, because they bought into her BS. Believe all women, right? I got a lot of support from my family and actual friends and coworkers who have since become outside friends. Tons of people who were her friends have been sending me messages now telling me they were right to support her because I was abandoning her in her time of need. They still haven't let up. Be like, delete, 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 F off, delete, kiss my ass, delete. That's what I would do. He says, like, seriously, WTF, what am I supposed to do? I'm her ex-husband and someone she cheated on. They know about the alleged misconduct on the man's part, so as her friends, what are they doing about it? I'm just some guy she used to know and who she hurt. I kept on getting the abuse. See, their opinion of him hasn't changed either. I captured all the texts she sent me recently as well as years ago. My number never changed and I never delete anything. And I decided to stop taking the high road on social media and just plastered all their feeds with her texts where she begged me to take her back and she admitted to cheating on me. Finally, they left me alone. That's why you always keep the proof, guys. Always. You never know what'll come back and it'll be handy once again. Now she's still texting me, complaining about what I said to the mutual acquaintance and accusing me of never loving her and that I was an evil person. I never replied to her. I feel good about what I did, and in my own sick way, I feel like I have closure. Claire, if you're reading this, fuck off and DIE. So there you go, guys. Quick one. That'll be pretty entertaining there. But again, this guy, he thought he was being the good husband. And look how she repaid his kindness and all that. Remember, he said she didn't have a job. He stopped hanging out with his buddies to make her happy. And how'd she thank him? She was cheating on him. He married too young. He was 21. She was older than him. She was 25 and he was 20 when they got married. So instantly, the position he was in, it was that obviously one where he was in the submissive side. Because a lot of times they do these stories, guys, when the guy's younger than the woman, she usually runs the show. So it's not a good place to be, amongst many other reasons. But anyhow, guys, good one here. This guy, sad that it happened to him, but at a young age, 25 years old, he was an alpha reborn. And he learned the hard way about female nature and all that. And then there's the things about perception and blah, blah. But now this guy's doing well for himself. That's really awesome to hear. And much we can learn from this. But all about perception and things like that. But anyhow, amazing how he was made out to be the bad guy here. But just by her, but also her friends, because he actually picked up and left. God forbid the man stands up for himself. But remember, once somebody makes up their mind about you, they have a perception of who you are, it's very hard for them to change it. That's why the old saying, I can't even think of it right now. You pretty much, about first impressions. It's a long day, guys. I can't think of it. You know what I mean? But never get a second chance to make a first impression or whatever the hell it is. But anyhow, just remember that when you meet people. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me just think about this. And guys, you come across a really good story you'd like to share, something that would be good for this channel, either your own crazy or interesting story that you have from your own personal life or something you find online, by all means, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just give me some time and I'll get to it. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.